Welcome back, everybody, to this week's live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and also by our good friends over at the DCL magazine, the WDW magazine. They had their float test edition of the DCL magazine recently, so be sure to head over there, check it out at dcl-magazine.com. If you use code DCL Duo, all caps DCL Duo, you can get 10% off everything in their store. Go help support our friends over at DCL Magazine. We are super excited to be supporting their efforts. But I am going to skip all of the pleasantries this evening because we have just such a fun show for everybody, and we can't wait to get our guest involved. So, Sam, I think without further ado, we got to bring our guest.
Out.
Yeah, we got to bring her out. Here we go. There she is.
Introducing Carlye Wisel. Carlye, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Also, I realized we have some real power in these glasses, you guys. We're just out here bespectacled and ready to talk about cruises.
Yes, we do. Love it.
Now, for those who don't know Carlye, I mean, you've been living under a Disney rock if you don't know Carlye, but Carlye is a journalist, theme park enthusiast, host, foodie, host of an fantastic podcast, the Very Amusing Podcast. She writes for all kinds of magazines in the travel space, particularly on theme parks, but also on food. We're so excited to have you on our show, Carlye. You cannot believe this is a huge day for us. We're I'm fangirling out a bit here.
Oh my God, I am so honored to be here because, as you know, the majority of my coverage for so long has been theme park based. And I've kind of been wading into the Disney cruise waters. And now, just with so much going on at Disney Cruise Line, it is a big chunk of what I do. So for DCL Duo to reach out to me is very exciting. And I'm very flattered. And I'm very grateful to be here.
Well, we're super
excited.
You're
so sweet. Well, before we get into talking about all things Disney Cruise Line, your favorites, your experience on Disney Cruise Line, we got to talk a little bit of Disney Cruise Line news because there's two pieces of news that came out in the last week. So about 5 days ago, Disney Cruise Line announced that they were lowering the booking deposits for Disney Cruise Line bookings. So it used to always be 20% in order to book your cruise that you had to put down. And if you canceled in a certain time frame, that's what you would lose, essentially 20%. If you didn't, shift to a different cruise, but if you actually canceled. And now they have changed their deposit requirement to be 10%. And from what I heard, that's more just in line with the rest of the cruise industry. So it's not like they've done anything groundbreaking. The price of the cruises has not decreased whatsoever, unfortunately. But that was just a piece of news. Any thoughts on that, Brian or Carlye? Just kind of doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but I guess nice to align themselves.
It might be a big deal from what it signals. I mean, we've had these 30% off sales this summer, card member benefits, reduced deposits. I find the explanation is usually, well, we're just aligning with the other cruise lines, but they don't have to. They don't have to take less than 20% of your money when you book. So if they're taking 10, it's just sort of why. Was that research that people didn't want to spend the 20, or maybe they're seeing some bookings down? I don't know, Carlye, if you have any thoughts, but that was my question.
Honestly, generally, when it comes to covering Disney, if something costs less money, I try to just not say anything and move on because you never know. So often it is the opposite, which I think we will be talking about shortly. But if it benefits me and costs me less, I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to accept it and be grateful and take the win where I can.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which brings us exactly to our other piece of news, which was something that I think was kind of quietly announced a couple of days ago. I actually only noticed it yesterday because that's how quiet this was, but DCL is increasing the price of all adult dining across the fleet. Now, it's different pricing depending upon what meal you're going to. So for Palo and Palo Steakhouse, brunch is going to increase by $5 to $55. Same for dinner. For Remy, brunch and dessert experience are both going to increase by $5 to $85 and $70 respectively. And then for dinner at Remy, it's going to increase by $10, Same at Enchante for lunch and dinner, increased by $10. All of those will be $145 will be the total. Now, this is going to roll out in staggered fashion. So the Wish apparently rolled out these new prices already on June 20th, the Treasure on June 21st. The Dream is coming up in a couple days, the Magic right after that, Wonder. Fantasy is the latest one. That's November. And then Destiny is going to be as soon as
yeah, the Europeans are not going to put up with a price increase in the middle of the summer.
Exactly.
So,
That's exactly right. It's after she finishes dry dock and crosses back over to the States. And so that's probably the reason for the delay. I also heard that the Wonder is exempting its Australia, New Zealand sailings from that price increase for this season. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Which also
to
makes
see.
sense.
So,
They were already tough swallowing those prices that, for the cruises and the merch and all of that stuff. So yeah.
And a $5 US increase is like a $10 Australian dollar increase. It's like almost, I think, 2 to 1 in the exchange rate. So yeah. But anyway, that just happened. There hasn't been an increase in those prices it's been 2 years since the last increase. I think it was 2023 when they announced the last increase, and it was similar. It was about $5 for each meal. I don't know. What do you think about that, Carly?
Okay, I'm going to be real with you, and I know a lot of people won't agree with me, but I just go fully bonkers off the menu at Paulo. I'm just ordering all sorts of stuff from all over the menu, so this doesn't affect me that much because I am bad at ordering. I spent too much money on the Wonder last week at Paulo. I'm a fool. But for brunch, I feel like a little more is fine. It does seem, it's pretty funny that like it's a few bucks at Paulo, but it's also a few bucks at Enchante. Like the percentage of what you spend there is so much higher. So it almost feels like you're maybe getting away with something. I am bad at math, clearly, but I'm fine with it. If it doesn't happen, I don't like to pay more, but if it doesn't happen that often, I completely understand raising it a few dollars. And I do think you still get so much out of your meal there that I'm cool with it. How about you, Brian?
That's where I always look at these through a value lens, and I think the value is still there for even for Enchante and Remy, the price is high on board, but it's not comparable to what you're going to pay for one of those meals on land. So like I think the value's there.
You're going to pay way more. Yeah, you're going to pay way more at Victoria and Albert's for like a similar meal to Remy or Enchante. And you're going to pay more for, a nice meal on land than you're going to pay for Paulo. So to me, it's just...
Can't complain about Paulo either because, Platinum and Pearl means we don't really pay at all for at least one meal. So like I can't, raise the price $10 for all I care, right? As long as it's still a perk.
I'm clawing my way there. I'm almost there.
Well, so let's start there. I think we've wrapped the news. So Carly, we're excited to have you on. I do want to hear about how you got into sort of the theme park journalism side of things. But one of the first questions you usually ask our guests on all of our recorded shows is like, what's your Disney cruising background? Like, when did you start cruising with them? How many of you been on?
At this point, I believe I've been on 8. I was just like tooling through the Castaway Club website. I think I've been on 8. Sometimes the media ones count, but they don't count. I think there's one that doesn't fully count. Anyway, I've been on less than 10. That's, to put it in DCL terms, less than 10. I started sailing with Disney Cruise Line a few years into my journey of reporting on theme parks. I have been doing this for 10 years now, and my main focus for so long has been Disney World, Disneyland, and a bit of international parks. But a few years in, I got invited on a cruise for work. I checked it out and was like, oh, this is sick. Like, this is awesome. And I went on a few since then, both for work and personally. Like, I dragged my husband on one. I say dragged because he doesn't love cruises, and I made him go. It was a trade for him. I know, he made me go to Colorado. He likes to ski and I don't. So I was like, okay, then we're going to go for the same amount of time somewhere that I want to go. And it worked out great. He ended up liking it, but he'll never admit that. And then really once they launched the Wish class of ships with Disney Cruise Line, it has kind of been off to the races. I have been on 4 Disney cruises in the past year, less than that actually, like 8 or 9 months. It has become so much of what I do and so much of what I report on because so many people are sailing with them now that there's so many more ships. And I think especially with the new class of ship being, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but it is really appealing to a Disney Parks fan because of what they offer on board and just there's so much variety there. It really has become one of the main things I report on. And I'm so happy it's part of my business now. Business, as I'm like, oh, I just got back from Alaska. Rough life. It's really great because I think Disney Cruise Line offers such a perfect Disney vacation, especially as visiting the parks has changed so much in the past 5 to 7 years. Cruise Line is a bit less complicated than its counterpart. So I really, really love Disney Cruise Line. And I think that it provides something you can't get anywhere else.
It's funny. It's why we started a podcast about Disney Cruise Line, because we're like, oh, this is so much easier to cover than the parks. There's so much less going on. And then 3 years in, it's like, what do you mean you're launching a new class of ship? Wait, you're announcing 4 more? Like, we can't keep up. So,
and now 5 years in, and they've announced there's going to be 13 ships coming in the next few years. So it's just exploded. Well, let's go back to Brian's other question, which was, how did you get started? I mean, I know your background is in journalism, but how did you get started in theme park journalism?
My life is an accident. I'm not supposed to be here. I wound up at Disney World for my bachelorette party, only because it was in February and I wanted to go to Wisconsin Dells. And you can drag friends to Wisconsin Dells for one night to be like, we'll stay at an indoor water park hotel, but you can't do that for 4 days with grown adults. So there's only so much fun you can have in the lazy river before your friends start hating you and everything smells like chlorine. So I of all the places, I don't have high tolerance for drinking. I'm not a partier. No shame to anyone who is. I physically can't do it. So all of the regular hotspots weren't going to work for us. And my now husband was like, why don't you go to Disney World? And I was like, I never thought about it. I'd never been as an adult. I barely watched the films. And then we started thinking about it and we're like, why not? It sounds fun. I love carnivals. I love rides. Maybe this will be fun for me. And I went and was like, this is it. I fully was locked in and completely obsessed from then on. It was also an unbelievably complicated trip to plan. I was what I like to call trip mom. That's whoever's in charge. And I was planning it for 11 individual adults. And if you know the ins and outs of my Disney Experience account, you know that planning a hotel room with 11 individual accounts and credit cards is so tricky. So my journalist brain was like, I have to find out everything about this place. I have to learn everything. And I just started writing. And after a few years, it was kind of the only thing I wrote about. And now I'm here.
Nice.
Wow. That's amazing. Amazing. Now,
I'm curious.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I'm curious, Carly, on the cruising side, have you cruised other cruise lines or just Disney?
Great question. So as a child, I went on a couple Royal Caribbean family cruises. And then I, kind of around the same time I started doing theme parks, there might have been an overlap there, I reported on Zumba Cruise, which is one of those buyout cruises that Royal Caribbean does, where it's like Rock Cruise or whatever, except it was all Zumba. I was reporting a lot on group fitness when I started doing this, because that was a big boom. Individual fitness studios in New York, it was all that was happening. And so I went on a cruise ship full of Zumba instructors and the founder of Zumba, and I was there for 4 nights, and I reported the heck out of it, and it was wild. It was a wild time. It was really fun. I mean, I did 7 workout classes a day, so for someone with a lot of energy, it was great. But it was definitely a different version of cruising than the one I covered.
Oh yeah.
I would just be super curious if you ever get a chance to go on a Virgin Voyages cruise, what you think about it as a Disney fan, because we've heard it called Disney for adults.
We've been on, and we're actually going on next month again, and I think it's the closest thing to a Disney cruise, but for adults.
I don't want to be rude, but I'm not interested.
Totally fair.
I'm just
yours is not an unusual response.
I know, and my friends and my colleagues have gone and they post stuff and it looks amazing. But for me, I need the theming. I need the storytelling. I need to know that creative people toiled over telling a story, which I know is happening with Royal Caribbean now. And I am hoping to sail on one of the new Royal ships. I've reported on them before, so I kind of just want to see it firsthand. And I need that bit of intense storytelling to make me enjoy a vacation. And that's why I love Disney so much, is that everywhere you go, it's not just a carpet. It's not just artwork. It all tells a story, and I just, once you have that, it's really hard to go back.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
absolutely. And the only storytelling on
Scarlet
Virgin
Night.
Voyages is on Scarlet Night. Scarlet Night does have a theme and a story along with it. I know people hear about it, just everybody wearing red, but it actually does have like, there's like a lore that they tell. But other than that one night, there's no like cohesive theming or anything like that. It's very, very, very different.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah, I can't just be in a bar that's like, our chairs are silver. Like, I can't.
No.
I haven't come this far in like understanding Disney to be like, sure, it's a lounge with no purpose. Like, what is this tied to? I need more.
Speaking of theming, I got to tell you, Carly, we had an idea, and I wanted to hear what you think of our idea, which is we think, Disney Cruise Line has done Star Wars Day at Sea. They have done Pixar Day at Sea. They have done Marvel Day at Sea. I want to know what you think about maybe, I don't know, Muppets Day at Sea.
I take my money, book it. Like, I would be there in a heartbeat, and like they know we all would be. Like,
right?
Listen, with the way Muppets Courtyard closure went down, like we are adults with money to burn, and we love the Muppets. If they did that, I would 1000% be there. It would be a non-negotiable for me. I mean, I flew specifically to Disney World to say goodbye at like a Muppet prom that my friend threw at Pizza Rizzo. Like, I would be there. They need to do it. Now I need to do it. I know, right? Such a good idea.
I know. I had to tell you because I was listening to your episode with Andrew Barth Feldman the other day, and I was like, kind of tearing up, and I of course then went onto YouTube and watched his whole video and song, which I haven't even shared with Brian yet, but I have to share that with Brian. But oh my God, all the feels. And I always loved Muppet Vision 3D. So I love that you did that episode. I love that Andrew did that YouTube video.
We did a VIP tour at Disney World at Christmas time, and Sam made us like the tour. Take us to Muppet Vision so we could see it one more time. And I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is like this is high stakes if we're using a VIP tour to get into Muppet Vision."
My God. I was like breaking down the per hour money on that makes me very uncomfortable. But I get it. That's true dedication. That's how people know that you're real about it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, could you imagine the merchandise crossover if they could do Muppet towel animals in like the towel animals that they make? Yeah, like the ones they sell. That would be amazing. So yeah.
I would truly. I would just like suck money out of my bank account. Like this is all I want. This is all I want now. But now you've planted a seed, and now if I don't get it, I'm going to be so upset. I need it.
Well, I'm thinking that by us telling you, maybe you can help us evangelize and spread the word that this needs to be a thing.
I feel like, though, there's a problem here where Disney hears things like this and they're like, nope, not doing it. Nope, just not doing that. Like, I feel like if it comes out of our mouths, they're like, nope.
They got to hear it over and over again.
It would work.
It would work, right? Yeah, exactly. And and we've got a great comment. A salute to all attractions, but mostly the Muppet ones. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So Carly, I'm curious about some of your favorites on the cruise line. Now, have you?
I was like, favorite Muppets?
No, we can do that too.
I'm kidding.
Are we talking regular Muppets or Muppet Babies? Like, are we talking?
Oh my God, sorry.
Too much. I digress.
So it seems like you said you pivoted hard into the Wish class ships. Have you sailed on the like the original ships, like the Magic or the Wonder as well, or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So basically, when I said that, what I meant was that it just became a really big part of my coverage, because when you basically double the fleet, there's like almost twice as much to write about. So I've done all the ships that exist, and then in the past 8-ish months, I've done the Wonder twice and the Magic.
Nice.
So I've spent a lot of time recently on the older ships, and I'm now like emotionally attached to the Wonder. I didn't feel that way after I sailed in March. I did a Wonder out of San Diego. I did 3 nights, and I was like, this is okay. It was fine. It was cool. And last week I did the Wonder to Alaska out of Vancouver, and it was I'm like obsessed with the ship. The ship feels like my home. I miss it. Like, I want to go back. I thought I would be more of a new ship girly, just because the nature of what I do, like, I tend to cover newer stuff more than older stuff. But with Cruise Line, I've been bouncing between all of them, especially, with them adding another island with Lookout Point. Like, it's just, there's a lot happening. So I've just been able to do both ends of it. It's been great.
Do you have a favorite ship right now? Is it the Wonder, or is it? I mean, it's sometimes hard. It's like the last one you were on is your favorite, but yeah.
Yeah, we always say like
know.
love the one you're with because it's so hard, but
I really, and I say this a lot, and I have an episode coming up where I'm actually breaking down the pros and cons of every ship because I sound like a shill when I'm like, they're all great, but like they really are all great. You guys know there's like pros and cons to all of them. Like the adult areas are different, the dining's different. Like there are pros and cons, but I think at this point it's maybe a tie between the Wonder and the Treasure, which is like a crazy thing to say. But
those
I also
are our
I
two
haven't been on-
favorites too.
Yes,
Love that.
I don't know what it is, but like they both, I don't know, they feel similar vibes. I haven't been on the Dream and Fantasy in a while. I haven't been on them since before the pandemic. So I do have to go back on one of those very soon so that I can remember what it's like. But I don't know, the Wonder after this Alaska sailing, oh, heaven. And then the Treasure was also great. Yeah. It was great.
The Fantasy isn't, we were on the Fantasy, so we went on the Treasure Maiden, and then we did the Fantasy like right after. So we were going for like 2. And I will say the one thing that the Fantasy really had going for it was that crew felt like the most cohesive, like just everything was just running like clockwork on that ship. And so it was it was really impressive. It was really, it may have been juxtaposed with like the maiden voyage kind of experience on the Treasure, which is fantastic, by the way, but you could tell they're still kind of working things out. So then you get on a ship where everything works and it's different. But yeah. What about so Sam's going to ask you shows, so I'll steer clear of that for 1 second and just ask. Well, let me ask the adult dining questions we talked about at the top of the show. Do you like? Have you done Enchante and Remy and obviously you've done Palo? Do you have a favorite from the adult dining venues?
Yeah, I've done it all, which is a blessing, a gift. Remy was a while ago, but I've done Enchante. Dinner and brunch. That restaurant, I just feel like spend the money. I know. I would not recommend you do the most expensive dining without really thinking about it. Yeah. But it is better than the best meal you will have on land. Like it is crazy that that's on a cruise ship, and it's crazy that it's on a Disney cruise ship, and it's unbelievable. And the fact that we have something like that at our disposal when we're on a Disney vacation is crazy. I highly, highly, highly recommend. But I really think I like, again, the two ends. I love Enchante and I love Palo on the older ships. I really love Palo on the Magic Wonder smaller ship. I love that setup. I love that they have the bar. I mean, no shade to like Meridian or the Rose. I just love that little bar that you can low-key order dinner at, which I finally did on this recent sailing. I got back from a zip line too late, and I got to like order food at the bar, which was a dream. And so I'm feeling really partial to that. The Palo on the Wonder lately, a little more than like the Palo on the newer ships.
Love that. I would say for us, probably Palo brunch and Remy dinner are like, I know the two like, again, ends of the spectrum, but we just like love, there's something about the theming, I think, in Remy that that I like more than Enchante. I feel like it's just warmer, like the atmosphere is warmer. They have a lovely cocktail that they greet you with. So there's just some of those
storytelling.
Details.
There's a little storytelling there.
Exactly. The storytelling. Right. Enchante is beautiful. The walk in, I feel like, because I actually think the Rose has more storytelling, and then Enchante has less storytelling, inside. But I want to ask about main dining.
I think I like that. I think I like it because Enchante to me feels like not like it's within the Disney cruise bubble, but it's a little separate. And I love just thinking like they slotted in this glamorous chic restaurant that is only a little bit Disney, but is truly like one of the best meals that exists on planet Earth. I kind of love that it's a little removed from the regular Disney of it all. As much as like I said, I will only do things that are
and I want to quickly echo there was a pro tip from the beginning of the first part of your answer that I love, which is that bar at Palo. That can be a real that can be a game changer. We had some friends who we did the Prima Notte. Instead of heading to main dining after a Prima Notte on night 1, they stayed behind, had a drink at the bar, and we're like, we're still a little hungry. And they're like, we can make you a flatbread. And so they just sat at the bar and had some drinks and ate a flatbread. And I was like, that's just amazing. Like that, like I never would have thought to do that. So yeah, that's just amazing.
I know. And I just keep thinking about, I haven't had this exact scenario yet, but I do keep yelling about it, that like you could fully be on the Magic or Wonder and you can just go up to the bar and for $5 you can get like a boiling hot cauldron of macaroni and cheese. And like, why aren't we thinking about that more? That you could just go and get a side of macaroni and cheese which is one of my favorite things there. Have that. That's what I intended to do when I went for dinner, and I ended up ordering way too much, and it was not a $5 bill, but still was a glass. That and a martini, like, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. They call that fancy mac and cheese cavatappi, I believe, pasta, for those not in the know. It doesn't say mac and cheese, but
It's
it
mac
is
and cheese.
mac and cheese.
Yeah. It's high-end mac and cheese.
That's mac and cheese.
It's better than
You can't
Mickey's
fool
mac.
me. You can't fool me with words.
Yeah. Yeah. Our 11-year-old will disagree with me, but I say it's better than Mickey's mac and cheese. Well, I want to move us over to main dining, because main dining is where most cruisers, spend most of their nights eating. We think across the industry, Disney's main dining is, of course, top notch. But I'm curious which main dining, rotational dining restaurant is your favorite. And maybe that's because of the theming. Maybe that's because of the food menu. Maybe it's the atmosphere. I don't know, for whatever reason, Carly. But what do you think is the best main dining across Disney?
Okay, currently, and I am biased because I have been on this ship more lately than I ever have before. Currently, in the number one place is Tiana's on the Wonder. I think that restaurant is just the perfect example of what Disney can do. I also feel that way about the second one, which I'll get to in a second. But I hadn't experienced like both nights at Tiana's before. I love that there's live music. Also, this is like, we're cruise people. We can get into it. The acoustics and the way the show is set up at Tiana's, I think, is way better than at its counterpart on the Magic with the Rapunzel restaurant. I just think it's like a better show. It's a better vibe. I think the acoustics on the Magic are off. I think it's way too loud in that room. It's a very brash show. I just think like Tiana's, it's just perfect. It's perfect. The Mardi Gras parade, it's also wonderful. Number two, second place would be Plaza de Coco.
Yeah.
On the Treasure. The mix of like the cuisine, them taking that property and bringing it to life with, the show in the center, with the way that room is decorated on its own is fantastic. Like, I had the opportunity, because I was a work cruise we were reporting, and so I got to like really take a look at all the facades and go up close when no one was in there, and it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Also, like a show on a cruise ship where they like take a moment to honor loved ones who have passed, and it works. And it's a wonderful night out. Like that, what they've accomplished with that between like entertainment and cuisine is fantastic. And then third place, I finally got to do second night Animator's Palette, and I'd never done it before.
Oh my God.
I'd never drawn.
What?
know. I'd never drawn. I'd never done it. I usually go on little shorties. And so
shorter
I got
cruises.
to finally draw. Yeah. So I got to do it, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I've been waiting for years to do it, and I knew it was going to happen, and it was still magical.
Nice.
Oh, I love that you got to do that. And you got to do that then on the Wonder, on your 7-night cruise. Oh, see, this is why, the Wonder, we have such an affinity for the Wonder as well. There's something we always tell people. It's like, the Treasure is amazing, and we love the theme park theming of all of that. But like the Wonder, there's something like warm and special about the crew, about the spaces. I don't know what it is. It's like that thing I can't quite put my finger on, but there's just something like incredible about the Wonder. And that's why, she wasn't our first ship, but she's always going to hold like that special place for us, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm real Wonder brainwashed at the moment. Like, you're getting me at a time where I've been on the Wonder twice in the past 3 months, and being on it in Alaska, I talk about this a ton on my podcast that's coming out Wednesday, but like something about the Wonder in Alaska, the guests are so happy. The crew is so happy. There's just this very joyous vibe. I liken it to the way you feel when you go to like a DVC hotel, like Old Key West. Like when you're there and like nobody's sprinting out the door to get to Magic Kingdom. It's very like, we're all here. We all like have chosen to be here. Oh, sorry, my alarm to feed my dog is going off, even though I said that 2 weeks ago, and I don't need it anymore. So it goes on every night. A peek inside my brain. It was like going off the entire cruise, and I never turned it off. It's so embarrassing. Okay, anyway, it's just like the vibe on the ship was immaculate, and it was wonderful. And this sailing made me fall in love with the Wonder, because like the Wonder took me to these ports in Alaska, and then I came back and I kept seeing the same cast members, and they were all wonderful. I sent in 5 cast compliments, and I had to stop myself because it already felt aggressive. It was just, that ship in Alaska is heaven.
Nice.
I love that. Okay, I got to ask you about shows, because my favorite thing to do on Disney Cruise Line is go into the Walt Disney Theater and see Disney shows. No shade to the variety acts. The variety acts are great. I've seen some really great ventriloquists and mentalists and magicians. But what I'm there to see is, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, Tangled, Tale of Moana, all the shows. I got to ask Carly, and maybe you give a ranking too, because I love that you gave us a ranking for the rotational dining, because there's so many good ones, but like, give us maybe your top couple or top, 1, 2, or 3, depending upon how many you want to put up there. But like, what are the top shows you think? Now, I know you're someone in LA, and so you get great shows, great theater. I grew up in New York, great shows, great theater. What's the best?
Okay, so I will say that the past 3 out of the 4 cruises I've been on recently have been with my child, who is now 2. So I have been on a ship with a toddler a lot lately, and that is not always conducive to live shows. We got I think we got 10 minutes of Frozen on our Alaska sailing, which is more than I thought we would do. But for me, it's not ranked, but it's just a hit list for me. Seize the Adventure. I was like screaming with joy the entire time. I saw that on the Wish Media Cruise. It was like the first time we had ever seen it, and we were losing our minds. I'm a Goofy fan, so that one for me is huge, but I haven't been able to see it since. So I'm like desperate to go see Seize the Adventure again. My mom and I saw Beauty and the Beast on the Treasure sailing, and I don't know. I didn't really expect it to be, how do I say? I don't want to say I didn't expect it to be that good, because these shows are always amazing, but I didn't expect it to have that many shocking surprise set pieces and people jumping through holes and stuff. It was crazy. I can't believe they're doing that in a ship. They're out of their minds. It's amazing. That one moved me more than I thought. And then what else? I think I'm not as drawn. It's all about properties for me. I'm not as drawn to Tangled. I'm not as drawn to Frozen. They are incredible shows, but those aren't really the stories I'm dying to see played out. So for me, Moana was really special because I had heard that there was this big finale. I didn't really know what it would be like when they translated this to the stage for Disney Cruise Line, and the end of it was crazy. It was crazy.
Right.
And then, and because that was, a media trip, that was a work trip, we had a special opportunity to go and see the large figure, the puppet, afterwards. And it was I was too scared to get close because it was so impressive. I was I don't want to be anywhere near it. I don't want to trip. I don't want to touch it. It was unreal from up close and from the last row of the theater. So I think those are the 3 that I'm kind of desperate to see again. And then I got to shout out Golden Mickey's, because how can you not love a Golden Mickey's?
That's Brian's favorite. So he's really excited.
It's so good. I'm never change it, never update it, keep it the same forever, keep the same interstitials, just keep it. Don't change a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I loved it when they brought Iger back. I was like, they didn't have to change the show. The show still has Iger in it. It's great. It's perfect. What's the you mentioned you're drawn to particular properties. What's the show? I mean, I know they got Hercules coming on the Destiny. Someone's asking us your thoughts on the Duffy show coming to the Adventure, but
oh my God.
What's the property you wish they would translate to the stage on Disney Cruise Line?
Oh my God. Monsters Inc. I don't know why. I didn't even think about it. That's just a gut reaction. I think it would be so fun to see that stage. How would they do the doors? How would they make, I feel like it could theatrically work. I really think it could. I would love to see that. I don't think they'll ever do it, but selfishly, I'd love it. And then, as I see a comment about Duffy, listen, I'm a Duffy freak. I'm obsessed with Duffy. I cannot wait to see what they do on the Adventure. But yeah, anything Duffy, but also I guess Monsters Inc. is what I feel in my bones, and my consciousness didn't even know it.
I love that. I love it.
What are your guys'? What are your
I purposely wore my Duffy shirt today in honor of you coming on the show, because I also love Duffy, and a friend went to all 3 of the parks in Asia and brought me back Duffy stuff from all 3 of the parks. I have never been to one of the Asian parks, but he brought me back this stuff. Yeah. What's mine? I would say.
Hold on. I just have to show you this. Look at this pencil case. Are you kidding me?
God.
Are you kidding?
Oh my God.
My friend just bought this back from, I think, Shanghai. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm dying. I love it. For me, Gosh, I would say so. I love Hunchback. I love the movie. I think the music from Hunchback is just incredible. I've seen a stage production of it. Brian and I actually went to Vegas for a weekend for the purpose of going to this theater in Utah called the Tuacan Amphitheater. That is like this outdoor. It's like surrounded by red rocks. It's this beautiful amphitheater, and it was a professional production of Hunchback. And it then traveled into a couple of other places. I think it played in New Jersey at Paper Mill Playhouse. I think it may have played somewhere in LA, but it didn't go to Broadway. But I'm still, holding out hope. I know the theming, is a little bit adult, so I'm not sure they'll ever bring it to the cruise line. But if I could put something on the cruise line and also put it on Broadway, because that's where it deserves to be, I would absolutely do that. Brian, do you have one? Brian's not much of a show person, although he loves Golden Mickey.
I loved Moana. Yeah. I love Tales of but I think to Carly's point, I'm drawn to particular Disney stories, and oddly enough, although I grew up in the golden age of kind of Disney movies, I've been drawn to some of the more recent stuff, and so but the two I would put on there, they aren't currently musicals. So I was thinking of Zootopia, or I would be really fun to see a version of Ratatouille brought to the stage. I thought, but they're not musicals, so they have to write a bunch of original music for those shows, which I think could be tough.
But for argument's sake, if we're talking Disney Cruise Line, they can make any of these into a musical. Yeah. You've seen what they can do.
Right.
Yeah. I just think it'd be
we
fun.
We can just start at the property we want, and then what happens? You go through a bedroom door, and where are you? It's much the same, but now you're with Belle. They can make it work.
Yeah.
You can make your dreams come true, Brian. It can happen.
For sure.
I love that. Speaking of making dreams come true, if you could design I want a bar space, for example, on Disney Cruise Line. We got Haunted Mansion on the Treasure. We have, Scat Cat. We're gonna have the DeVille's Lounge. There are so many great themed bar spaces on Disney Cruise Line right now. I want to ask you your favorite one too, but first I want to ask if you could invent one or decide I'm going to put that IP in a bar space on a cruise, on one of the cruise ships, what would you pick, Carly?
Okay, again, I don't know what is happening in the back of my brain to immediately have an answer that I don't even know if I agree with. But what I have chosen apparently is that I would love a bar, okay, we're talking top deck outside, a monorail bar that just somehow rotates in a circle. It doesn't even have to go the full perimeter of the ship. We'll save that for attractions everyone can go on. That's separate. I don't want to take up too much space. But something where it was even in the an area of the deck where a monorail bar could just move in a circle or move a little around. I think that a monorail bar that moves at sea, I think would be so cool.
I wonder if they could adapt. Sam, remember that bar that they have on Royal?
Yes.
I mean, they have this bar on the big Oasis ships called the Rising Tide, where you start on deck 3 and this and it slowly rises up, and it's it'd be so that could be your monorail bar. Yeah, you could kind of
something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I love that idea. I think that's awesome. All right, well, you've been on the Treasure, obviously. I know a couple of times, probably mostly, I'm sure, for media stuff when they first opened the Treasure. I'm curious. Obviously, the theming and the bar spaces in the Treasure is above and beyond, I think. But what's your favorite bar space across the fleet? It can be from the Treasure, but it can be from one of the other ships as well. There's so much great IP. There's so much great theming. It's so hard.
I've had really great times at the Rose. I think that I love a little, even if you're doing the standard dining and you just want to get away a little and just have a little escape. I really love maybe any of the Apollo adjacent bars, on any of the classes of ships. I always think those are really special. And it just feels even if you're getting the same drink, I'm getting the same drink everywhere I go. I'm getting a vodka martini. And even if I do that, it just feels a little more special there. I don't know why. It just does. Maybe the way it's situated with the views, it just feels more special. But I mean, for me, it's going to be Haunted Mansion Parlor all day. As a theme park person, just the level of detail and work they put into that space. Like, it could have been just Haunted Mansion themed a little bit, but they really made it an attraction. And I think that they made it a space that you can comfortably sit in for a while. That was something I was concerned about when I first saw it, was like, will this be too much lightning? Like, will it be like too much movement, too much going on? And you can really hang out there so much. And I think that they really nailed that one. They really did. And they made it a great space to be in. So I think those are my favorite. But I do think that I'm going to be a huge fan of DeVille's, which is going to be on the Disney Destiny. I went to this like crazy cool press event earlier this year where they kind of recreated it in a ballroom at the Disney's Contemporary Resort, which is a insane thing to say out loud, but they like brought it to life, and they had her, and they had a pianist, and they had live music, and they had kind of elements of what could happen when you're in there. And I think that might be my favorite use of that space across all three of the Wish class ships. I think adding in a character like that who has such a perspective and a point of view into a bar where she naturally can interact with the guests and heckle them is so funny. That's so funny that they approved that they're going to have a character like possibly walk around and make fun of your outfit. I think it's amazing. And I think that will really be a hot spot on that ship. And I can't wait to see it.
You know, I want to change my show answer. I think Cruella could be a really good. I love that movie. I love what they did with that movie, origin story movie. I think that could be a really fun stage production. Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the great things that we're seeing with what's coming on the Destiny is that character interaction piece. Like, I think, you know, we've got this idea of, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but where Loki's going to come out and take over the ship, there's going to be some sort of storyline there. And we don't have that. I mean, we do have amazing storytellers on the Treasure, but it's different. They tell specific stories. And so I think it's really interesting to see what they're doing and what they're planning. I'm curious, Carly, what you're most excited about with the Destiny coming out. And then, of course, we'll talk about the Adventure as well. But let's start with the Destiny.
I think for me, I'm really excited that this is the third version of a ship that many of us have been on in two different versions of it. And I think it's very cool that they decided to do this heroes and villains theming. I think that theming the ship to conflict is so cool because you can do that across any of the Disney properties. And so I'm really curious mostly to see how that plays out on board the ship. Because we know the big pieces, like you mentioned, like Loki will take over the ship atrium, which is like so funny and that makes so much sense. It's so cool. But I'm really curious, like the smaller ways that might come about. Will you be in certain spaces on the ship and you'll see character interaction you wouldn't see on a different ship because it wouldn't make sense with the story? Or will like that come through with character costuming? Like there's a lot of smaller things I'm really interested to see how that comes through with. And I'm just excited. And I'm really excited for what it feels like to be a guest on the Destiny, because when you have heroes and villains, you split teams. It's like Color Wars. Like you're kind of choosing a side. And I'm interested to see how that affects kind of the camaraderie and the community of people on board. And if we start to see people like rallying together for characters and forming like little clusters of groups, I think there's so much potential there. So I'm very excited to see how it plays out.
Well, and cruise line guests go all out, like with costumes sometimes. So I could totally see people showing up and being like, for formal night, like they're decked out like their favorite villains. Yeah, I could totally see that happening.
Or their favorite heroes.
Oh,
I mean, you're going to have people in Avengers costumes, no question. And then, of course, you're going to have the villains side of things. Yeah, I love that.
Like, can you imagine if someone shows up dressed as Thanos and walks around the ship? Like, it would hit so hard. Like, someone's got to do it. It would be so funny.
Yeah.
Too many people at Marceline's.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I've always, 50% of the people I remember during the restart post-pandemic, and while there were reduced, right
away to see that ship, or, and if so, what are you looking forward to?
I don't know. I'm still kind of in the process of figuring out if I'm reporting on it or not. So at the moment, I don't know, but I know that I will get on the Adventure at some point. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, once like the first video drops, I'm gonna be like, I gotta book a trip. I gotta book a trip. I went to Singapore semi recently, so I don't really have a solid excuse to fly there. If I hadn't been, I'd be like, great. But I do think I will, if I don't end up going for like work, like on an assignment on a story when it starts, which again, I haven't fully pitched those stories yet, so I'm not entirely sure. But if I don't do that, I will go on my own for the podcast at some point. in 2026. Again, traveling internationally, it's really been a strange parallel because Disney has launched so many ships during the point that I have both been pregnant and had an infant and toddler. So it's like my approach to travel has changed so much. I used to be like, I'm going to go buy. And now you need infrastructure. Like there's like, who am I going with? Who am I bringing her? Is she staying here? There's a lot that is keeping me from immediately dropping things and going to Asia. I have been able to go, since I had my daughter, I've been able to go to Japan twice, which is amazing and fantastic. Awesome. And I went to the park, obviously, both times. Yeah. And they were short trips. I mean, they were kind of as short as I could do. So if you're going to Singapore, I'm like, I'm there, I want to extend it. So I might have to wait a little bit just because of the family of it all. But I am, I gotta see it. I gotta see it. I'm such a Duffy freak. Like I gotta see it. They have a Duffy store. They're going to be there on the ship. Like, I got to Aulani to see Duffy. Like I will be there. There's a lot of factors at play.
It's going to be such a unique, I mean, it will be unique to begin with because it's the only one of its class. But it's going to, I guess the experience is going to be really wild to see how they pull it off on these like shorter sailings with so much to do on the ship. Like I can't wrap my head around what that's going to be like. Yeah.
I will tell you both.
Different. Oh my God.
Yeah. I will tell you both, I did hear a rumor that they are so far behind in working on the adventure, like just the stuff inside the ship, that they might actually be canceling all of like the preview stuff that they were going to do out of Port Canaveral. This is a rumor, so I can't verify. Like I've heard it secondhand. There's someone who tells me their source is reputable. But yeah, so
everyone's source is reputable until it isn't. So
well, it's not my source. So like my source is not direct. My source is indirect. And so that's why I can't vouch for how much credibility to give this rumor, but that's what I've heard.
These days, I don't believe anything until I see it from Disney anymore.
I know,
it's just, I mean, like you just don't know. Like at this point, like, yeah, you just don't know. Carlye, I want to ask you about we've got the, in addition to the adventure coming, we've got another Wish class ship going to the, Oriental Land Company. We've got 3 new ships of
another Wish class also.
Oh, another.
Don't forget the 4th Wish class to the U.S. Yeah.
Yes, and we've got another 3 ships coming of an entirely new class. Like, let me ask the question this way: like, what do you think is the big opportunity for the cruise line in your mind? Since you cover the parks, you cover the cruise line. Like, what do you think is their big opportunity with these ships that maybe they just haven't hit upon yet? Is there something that you're thinking they got to do this or they got to go there or like, yeah?
The thing is, like, I don't as much cover Disney Cruise Line from a macro sense. Like, I kind of cover it like there's this new sailing, there's this itinerary, they have a second island destination, but I'm not really thinking of future in the sense of like where they need to go. I kind of just let them steer that ship in a way where I'm like, you guys are building it. I guess we're all cruising now. And but on my end of like actually like helping people plan trips and reporting on it in kind of the granular sense, I think it's really interesting because their confidence in growing this fleet in the way they have in the past few years and heading out into the next few just really shows me that cruising is becoming very of the moment and very in vogue. And it's not really what I expected from Disney. I thought parks were going to be the real kind of like the gold standard of what is happening, and cruise line was just adjacent to that. And so it is really interesting to see that, we have a lot of parks growth coming, but not a lot is currently up. Like we are still in the construction. As Josh Amaro said, like the dirt is moving. Like we are still, things are happening, but we're not quite there yet at these big openings. And it's really interesting to see like a lot of that transfer to Disney Cruise Line and to see so much newness coming out of Disney Cruise Line. So in terms of destinations, I don't really fly personally. I don't fly out of the country often to go on Disney Cruise Line. I typically leave domestically. So my personal options are limited, but I'm just really excited to see what new spaces they have on the ships, what the ships will look like, how they'll reinvent things for the future, because just what they've done with the 3 Wish class ships, I really was not expecting. I didn't think they would have these distinct themes, and I didn't think they would feel so different. And I really didn't think the Destiny would have heroes, villains. Like that really opened my eyes to what is possible. So I'm just curious more in terms of like not where the vessels are located or where they go for ports and destinations, but what happens inside of them.
Yeah. I realize on the favorite side of things, we forgot to ask you about where you fall in the great debate of Castaway Key versus Lookout Key. And I think I'm honestly going to say, like, I don't think you have to have a favorite. I think they both offer different experiences. But like, what do you think of the new private island as compared to, Castaway?
I think it's beautiful. To really compare the two, I have only been once to the new island, and I was there with my child, and she ended up going back to the boat with my mom. So I had like 7 minutes on the adult beach, and I was just like, oh, I really need an afternoon on this beach to really be able to compare. Like, I really need a little more time. It was like blissful. It was like the end of the day. It was perfect. And I think that they're different but equally great. I really, really love that Disney wasn't like, it's another island and like Mickey Mouse is there. I love that they embraced the culture. I love that they really did it. They did the thing. And Castaway Key's pretty locked in. I went to look out to really, like, it was the first time I went. It was like a review, it was early coverage, and it's kind of a weird parallel from my perspective to compare the two, because like Castaway, they're not going to change anything. I think there are a few improvements I would like them to make. One of the things that I've said on my podcast is that I know, like, the walkway is a whole thing. I know. We're all talking about the walkway. I think the walkway could really benefit, obviously, from shade, but also from storytelling. I think that there is more storytelling that can be done on that journey. And I genuinely feel like if they added little plaques of what you can see in the water, if they explained why the walkway is there, like, I think there's some messaging that needs to go wider. And if they, like, Disney excels in storytelling, and I really think if they explained that, if they had like a scavenger hunt along the way, if they kind of made that walkway part of the story, like you're entering for the first time, and set the scene, I think it would reframe a lot of the things that I've seen people say about the island destination. However, it is so beautiful. It is the most beautiful water I've ever seen in my life. I had an incredible time. Junkanoo is so cool. I bought the best Disney souvenir I think I've ever gotten. I got like a little, like a Donald purse on the island that someone stitched themselves. It was wonderful. And I think they're both great, but I don't know if I can compare them until I go back and have like a proper, because right now I'm like, Castaway was great. I hung out with my mom. We hung out at the beach. We had no worries. We chilled. And it's like, that was not the vibe of my day at the other one. So I think they're both great. And I think they're actually quite different, more different than you would anticipate.
Yeah, no, that's
totally. And I totally agree with you on the storytelling. We've talked about it on our show. We feel like, they made these two characters, the lizard and the crab. Lizzie is the lizard. I can't remember the name of the crab, but I feel like they could do some kind of storytelling on the pier, on the walk, with those characters, or they could do storytelling about the island. Either way, it needs that storytelling element in order to make people just not so upset about having to walk in the sun, and some sunshades would really be helpful as well. Yeah, because when you find out the reason why they built it, and it's to preserve the habitat, like, cool, that's awesome. But if you don't know that, you just think it's a little strange. And I think that more information about how they created this and why they did it this way, I think that would really help kind of complete this destination, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I think one thing that our listeners are definitely going to want to hear from you, Carly, is who you think a Disney cruise is for versus who you think a Disney parks trip is for, because you are, a theme park expert and aficionado, but also I would say a Disney Cruise Line devotee. And we are obviously all in on Disney cruises, but I will tell you, we have, we own DVC at both Florida and California, and of course Aulani. So we are also parks people, even though our first love is cruise line. But I'm curious where you think these sort of things fit in. Like who should go to a park for their vacation versus who should go on a cruise for their vacation?
I think, just to put it really plainly, I think if you've ever gone to Disneyland or Disney World and you've had a day where it was like, you walked away and you went, that was really fun, but it was kind of stressful. I think if that was your takeaway, get yourself on a Disney cruise. Like, I think if someone who understands and like enjoys the Disney theming, enjoys the Disney magic, but maybe didn't love the lightning lane, found the booking to be stressful, like someone who wants to vacation with Disney, is pretty into what's happening, whether or not that is a family vacation, a multi-generational trip. I live in LA, like driving to Disneyland with friends and be like, that was tight, we should do that again. But like, the phones. Like, if that is your takeaway, I think Disney Cruise Line is really, really good for you. And I still I don't cruise other lines that much. I will probably go on Royal Caribbean at some point in the next year to check out what they have. But even me, this is the longest Disney cruise I went on, the one to Alaska I just did. And I was like, oh my God, almost 3 at sea days. Like I haven't done that. Am I gonna feel weird? How's it gonna be? And this is what I do for my job. And I did it and was like, oh, this was amazing. It was amazing. So like just give it a try. Give it a shot, book a short one, see what you think. And if you're into theme parks and Disney, like I think you'll end up really liking just this high caliber of service and execution and experience.
Yeah.
I will be so curious to hear your reactions to Royal. And actually someone in the comments reminded me, Royal has a train restaurant now that like moves from place to place. So that's your monorail themed place. Yeah.
Or
forgot.
people mover theme, right? Yeah. That could be a people mover themed restaurant as well. Yeah.
Oh my God. I reported on, oh my God, does my brain still work? Royal Railway Utopia Station. Still got it. I did an episode on it because I was like, what do you mean there's a train at sea that doesn't go anywhere? And I got like really obsessed with it. But to me, like when I'm thinking of monorail bar, I'm thinking of like a rotating restaurant.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah.
And if they built it like even around a funnel, like anything that physically, kinetically moves in space, like and outside views. Oh my God.
Yeah, love it.
I love that idea. It makes me think of the Space Needle well, it's not a restaurant anymore. They just have a bar up there, but it definitely that's what I was envisioning when you said the monorail theme. I love that. But I still think we got to get like a train themed restaurant on Disney Cruise Line, but I think it should be, like I said, I think it should be people mover, because if you don't have Harry Potter IP, you just can't really do a train perfectly. So that's just my personal opinion. But I'm curious, Carly, where you have a 2-year-old Pearl, and you talk about her on your podcast, and I'm curious, like, what is your favorite type of trip to take her on? Because I think it's different when you're doing a trip when it's just you and some adult friends. But like, would you rather take Pearl to a day in the parks at Disneyland or trip to Disney World, or would you rather take her on a Disney cruise?
There is something that going to Disney World does to my brain where I'm like, this is everything I've ever needed. Like bringing her to Disney World, even though the flight is not, listen, nobody's thrilled about flying with a toddler, but being at Disney World with her is like peak joy for me. Just something about it. I'm a mom. I'm in charge of things. I can like use this card in my pocket to book something to make my baby be here. Like I can't really wrap my head around it, and anybody who listens to my podcast, I apologize because you will hear this again on Wednesday. I got off the ship like Monday. I think Monday of this, what day? Oh, last Monday. Okay, today's Monday. Last Monday. And then last Friday, I took her to Disney California Adventure. And I was at DCA and I was like, oh yeah, a cruise is it. Like a toddler on a cruise, way easier than this. Way easier.
I knew you were going to say that, Carly.
And like we're locals. We go for 3 hours. I have a magic key. She is currently free. Like it is so low key. Our only goal was for me to get a cold brew and for her to go on the Mater ride. And I was still like, oh boy. And being on a cruise, it's just so to be contained and like everything is just in that little bubble, in that little world. Like everything's carpeted too, which is huge. Like I think Disney Cruise Line, it's like Disney World and Disney Cruise Line are, as much as I take her to Disneyland all the time and love it, it's just those are places that we thrive at. And Disney Cruise Line easier than Disney World.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you got a little childcare if you want it for, if you need some time to go to the spa or to go to an adult only restaurant, there is childcare available, which is a wonderful thing. We have an 11-year-old, so he's off at the edge and he doesn't want to spend any time with us anymore.
Yeah.
But when he was younger and had to go to a kids club, that was a really nice benefit. So I got to ask you one more question because, somebody's asking us to ask you about Olumel. I'm not sure why they want us to ask you about Olumel.
Oh boy, I'm getting in trouble. And also, I was going to tell you, I know I said I had a heart out. I actually have a little more time than I thought, but I could lie and say I don't. Okay, so long story short, I have said some harsh words about Olumel. I am a Duffy and Friends fan. I love them. I just think this originally began, my beef with Olumel began because I thought he was a little bit of a hanger-on. Like, Duffy and Shelly Mae met him at Alani. He was just like hanging out, just chilling, and then he just like follows them home. And I thought that was a bit odd. And it stuck with me. And I have talked about it maybe more than I should. And eventually I've done a few podcast episodes with the team behind Duffy and Friends because I'm just always screaming about how much I love. Oh my God. There's a turtle in the comments. I'm stressed. Because I love to report on Duffy. I love Duffy so much. I want Duffy and Friends to be like a massively global franchise here. They are over there now, which is fantastic, but like I really want them to be huge in America. And so we've done multiple podcast episodes, and I fully got called out about Olumel by the creative team who works on Duffy and Friends. And it was not a good look for me personally and professionally, I will say. They were in the right. And I regret it to this day, but I have decided to embrace Olumel. I am open to Olumel. He's not one of my favorites, but we have buried the beef and we are okay. We are okay. Olumel and I are good. And I will even say in some of his outfits, he's very cute.
He is pretty. It's fascinating to me we can't make Duffy a thing over here, especially on the cruise line, because that's how he got his start, right? He was Mickey's teddy bear when he went to sea. So why is he not on the Disney ships? Yeah.
I think we're going to get there. Because Duffy and Shelly Mae are in the 70th cavalcade at Disneyland. So at long last, you can see both of them in Disneyland every single day, which is huge. Like we've been dying for this. But like you got Santa Duffy showing up at Jollywood Nights, like slowly they're coming back. And so I know that the merch that they've been selling at one of the stores in downtown Disney has been selling really well. So I'm hoping there's a resurgence.
Nice. Well, Carlye, it was so much fun chatting with you. I hope we can find a way to have you back in the future. We'd love to hear about more of your thoughts on Disney Cruise Line, especially with all these ships rolling out. I mean, my gosh, give us a couple of years and there'll be like a double-sized fleet here. So so much fun chatting with you. So thank you for spending some time with us, spending some time with our audience.
Of course, this was so much fun to this is all I ever want to do is to talk about cruises, and now I get to do it with people who love it just as much as I do.
Amazing.
Well, we love it too. Carlye, why don't you tell folks where they can follow along on your adventures on all the socials? I know you've got a website as well, and where they can regularly read your articles. I know you're in all different magazines all across the travel spectrum, but where can they regularly find you or a link to wherever you're at?
I spend an aggressive amount of time online on Instagram, so I'd highly recommend that. I am at Carlye Wisel on all the platforms. I'm on Instagram. I'm like not on the other ones as much. Sometimes I'll dip in and dip out, but Instagram is really where I'm at. You can listen to my podcast, Very Amusing, new episodes every Wednesday. You can find that where, you find podcasts. And anytime I like write a story or anything I post it on social media, but really Instagram. I also have a Facebook group called The Family on Facebook. It's a community of people who love theme parks, who love travel, but also like everything happens there, life related, people selling t-shirts to each other, people asking for travel advice, everything. So if you're looking for a group of people to hang out with on the internet, The Family is there for you.
Awesome. Well,
we love that.
Everyone out there, if you have not already been following Carlye, please head over and do that. And for everyone out there watching and listening, we will be back next Monday night, the regular time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And Sam, you got to remind me who's coming on next Monday.
We've got Cindy Leichner coming on. She's going to be talking a side-by-side cruise, meaning she's getting off of one ship and onto a different ship with one day in between. I believe it's the Dream and the... I can't remember if it's the Dream and the Treasure, and she's traveling between two ports.
It was the
or
Treasure.
If it's...
Yeah, I think it was the Treasure.
Yeah, I think it's the Dream and the Treasure. Yeah. So she's gonna do a little compare contrast for us and a little bit of a trip report kind of mixed together. But it's gonna be a great show. So make sure to tune in, as Brian said, next Monday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you all next week. Thanks again, Carlye, for joining us. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me.